name is David Schwartz, and I live at 13805 Southeast 58th Place in the Westwood Highlands neighborhood. I was a regular here at City Hall as a member of last year's Bellevue Essentials class. The Essentials class demonstrated clearly that Bellevue City government strives to meet its residents' needs as effectively as possible. I was consistently impressed by the commitment of every Bellevue City employee I came in contact with through the Essentials program. Tonight I come before you to address a growing interest in the optimal management and support of our city's future growth. In particular, I want to address our city's energy future. How best to secure this future is an important topic of debate. PSC has suggested that future demands will outstrip our capacity very soon. PSC has proposed to build a 230,000 volt transmission line through 18 miles of Eastside neighborhoods based on the assumption that our needs will grow at 2.5% each year. That rate of increase is 6 times higher than projections at Seattle City Light. It's curious why there's such a disparity between adjacent communities. To date, PSC has refused to share the data underlying their assumptions. The data PSC has released publicly tell a very different story. For example, data that PSC provides to Bellevue's environmental stewardship website shows that during the past 5 years, residential electricity usage has declined 3%, and commercial usage has dropped an impressive 7%. These numbers are particularly impressive when you consider that Bellevue's population has increased by 9% from 2011 to 2014, where the year of the most recent data. And job growth in Bellevue was over 8% during the same period as well. The main point I hope to make tonight is that we are not in the midst of a local energy crisis. Our consumption is declining, and with good stewardship can decline further without hampering our economic vitality. As I believe these observations demonstrate, choosing between economic stagnation and making huge investments in 20th century energy infrastructure such as Energize Eastside is simply a false choice. Once again, the bottom line is that we are not in crisis. We as a community have time to secure our energy future sensibly, effectively, and efficiently. I trust that all Bellevue City staff working on these issues recognize this and will work honestly to vet PSC's proposal. Thank you.
And could you leave a copy of that with us? Thank you.
Next speaker is Don Marsh.
Honorable council members, my name is Don Marsh and I'm the president of CENSE. As you know, CENSE has raised significant questions about the safety of building a 230,000 volt transmission line over 2 high-pressure petroleum pipelines, as PSC proposes to do in its Energize Eastside project. As a result of our concerns, PSC engaged a respected safety consultant, DNV-GL, to analyze their proposal. The consultant's findings were published in December, and they are devastating. The top finding is that PSC's preferred route, known as Willow 2, fails 4 out of 4 safety criteria. Aside from failing basic safety standards, the consultant says it has an unpredictable risk range. A second conclusion is that PSC's alternate route, Willow 2, also fails 2 out of the 4 safety measurements. In order to bring this route into compliance, the consultant says the height of the poles will have to be increased up to 50% taller than the poles we have today. To reduce the risk of arcing into the pipeline, the poles will have to be placed at least 13 feet away from the pipeline, more than 10 times the separation PSC had previously proposed. The consequences of these new requirements will be terrible for homeowners next to the corridor. 75-foot poles will be placed within 30 feet of existing homes, increasing the risk of a falling pole striking a home. Some homes are within striking range of 2 poles. That's not just a safety concern for these homeowners and their loved ones, but it's also a problem for mortgage underwriters who won't back a mortgage for properties that have this level of risk. We are grateful that these safety risks are now known, but we wonder how it is that we are 3 years into this process and only now are we finding out that PSC's designs were unsafe. We also wonder why the scope of this study was limited to operational hazards. The report doesn't address the risks of performing intrusive construction near the pipeline. It also doesn't consider what might happen if an earthquake shears both the pipeline and the transmission line. The Bellevue Fire Department says a pipeline accident would have catastrophic consequences, and we take this warning seriously. Imagine an out-of-control inferno on the heels of a natural disaster when emergency responders will be busy and roads may be clogged. CENSE hears from residents all the time. People are very worried about their safety because hundreds of homes are located along this utility corridor. By PSE's accounting, there are 13,000 school children who attend schools and daycare centers within 500 feet of this corridor. In your role as an elected official, we ask that you work to ensure that the city staff and PSE are listening to these concerns and providing answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You'll leave that.